Welcome to Userful Pre-Book. Pre-Book is a add-on module exclusively for Userful Desktop. It allows you to implement some more advanced patron time management features and offers some features such as public computer ahead of time booking, or more commonly, a first available queuing system. The training session is going to be broken up into 3 segments. First, we're going to start off by just going through the user experience. We're going to then go into everything you need for frontline staff, and then we're going to dive into the administrative details of Pre-Book. This is all, so let's just get right into it. As far as the user experience goes, it's very simple. This system is configured up for the most common sort of reservation system, which is a queue. So I have my library card number, I've punched it in, and I'm a patron. I'm just going to log right in here. This is the screen that'll show up on your Pre-Book kiosk, and all this will be set up ahead of time as part of your Userful desktop installation. So I punch in my barcode. This is just a temporary code, of course, and here we go. We have the option to book the next available computer at my default location. The hours today are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and I'm just going to go ahead and add myself to the queue. There are 10 stations available. Of course, there's a computer available for me. There's nobody in the queue, so go in and log in on station 1. Once, if there were no computers available, I would have my name placed in a queue, and that would show up in a display on the wall that you'd have set up, and we'll get into how that works a little bit later. That's it. I'm ready. I have my reservation. I'm all set to go. I sign out and I go and sit down. That's the patron experience. Very simple. Let's go into the staff experience now. So I'm going to use my basic test library login here. And here we have the staff control panel. So this will be open in a browser on the staff desktops themselves. This is quite simple. You can search the library, the login database for certain patrons. This is only patrons that have logged in through Pre-Book. I can review the policy, which is set by the administrators. So, for example, how individual reservations can be no shorter than 5 minutes. I can monitor the logins for today, or the last few days, or the last number of months, however long the administrators have chosen to keep data. You can usually see error codes as well. So if somebody's complaining that their reservation isn't working, they can come up here and you can tell them that you need to punch in all 11 digits of your code and not just 9 or 10, so on and so forth. We can generate some temporary barcodes. So this is an effective solution for guest passes. Basically, I want to add, let's say, 6 more temporary barcodes. I call them adult barcodes. They expire in 24 hours, so these will disappear within 24 hours. And here we go. I have guest passes now that I can hand out to anybody. Userful Pre-Book sits between Userful Desktop and your ILS on the authentication chain here. So what happens when a patron comes in, sits down, plugs in their barcode, if they punch an actual library barcode, Pre-Book will validate that against your ILS and against whatever conditions we have set up for you. So if this patron has too many fines, if they have an expired card, if you've chosen to have them blocked from the public computers, the system will block that. These cards don't check against the ILS. They don't impact it in any way. They're just there to allow people to log in. And in 24 hours, these particular codes that you can hand out to somebody will terminate, and you never have to worry about them again. As far as that's quite simply all there is to the staff interface. We can look at the queue monitor, and there's our queue. This was set up. It can be set up and customized a bit. Of course, the colors aren't great. It's not Halloween all the time, and it'll be set up on another display. That's quite all of it. That's the staff interface for Pre-Book. Moving on to the administrator interface. So this gets a little more complicated. but let's have a look at it anyway. A guided setup tour of Userful Pre-Book is part of the Userful Desktop installation process. So if I skip over some details or I move too fast, don't worry. When the time comes to set up your own Userful Pre-Book server, you'll be on the phone with myself or somebody from Userful, and we will guide you through this personally. You'll understand everything, and we'll make a setup that's right for you. So I'm going to go through a few things here. Some of the settings here are duplicated from the staff login. You have the policy overview, you have your temporary barcode, so on and so forth. Let's look at first at some web parameters here, right from the top, and we'll just go down the list. So there's a number of variables that can be set here. Most of them are explained themselves. Let's say if you want to disable the web interface, if you don't want people to use the logins and you just want to use Pre-Book as a reservation, as a patron management system to enforce some policies rather than enabling actual logins, then you can do that. If you want to switch it from queuing to ahead of time booking, so if you want people to actually be able to reserve a station at a specific time in the future, then we can change this to Pre-Book. That's not all that common these days anymore, but it can be done. Session auto extensions. So if, let's say for example, we have a policy set that patrons are allowed 2 hours of computer use a day, but their sessions are individual sessions, only 1 hour in length. If we have session auto extension enabled, then users that use their first hour will then be offered a 15-minute extensions up to the total 2 hours, as long as the library isn't completely full. The variable, I believe, is somewhere around 80%. As long as 80% of computers are in use and no more, then auto extension will be offered. In any case, this is a long list of features that should be gone over personally as part of Userful Desktop training session, so that is what we will do. And we'll go back to the main menu. Your policy settings as well. We have a number of policy settings here. First, we have our policies for individual stations. You can make as many of these as you want, and then we'll be adding them to individual stations a little later. So this one by default is a 60-minute reservation policy. It just sets the minimum reservation length at 5 minutes, and that's all there is to it. We can then change a number of different settings, how many concurrent reservations a user can have, how many future reservations that can be made, and so on and so forth. It all explains itself here, and again, we will go through this person to person over the phone and make sure everything works out for you during a setup. Machines and locations. So we've got this is where all our actual system and data is stored. So you have your location, your address information, and your hours of operation. Now, if you've watched the Userful Manager training video, you might know that the hours of operation set in Userful Manager controls basically one thing, and that's when people are kicked off the computers at the end of the day. Pre-Book goes a little bit farther in that the hours of operation set here are the only hours in which users are allowed to log into the system at all. So if somebody comes in and sits down and tries to log into a computer, even a staff member, at 8:58 a.m., they won't be allowed in. It'll say the station is reserved. So important to keep this updated. As well, you always want to ensure that you have the same early logout of end of day setting as you do on your Userful Manager. So 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you like, and that will synchronize everything up, make sure nobody gets too long of a time, and everybody gets removed from the stations at the end of the day. We have our individual computers. So as in Userful Manager, we have the computers listed, and each computer is listed here with its station count. This is much simpler than Userful Manager. So let's say I have my computer number 1. It has 10 stations on it. I can then control each individual station and set different policies. So let's say station, you know what, I'm going to call station 10. Now we have a station, it's enabled, it's ready for use in the system, it's ready for people to book or queue for it. Now let's say I don't want to do that. I still want Pre-Book to manage time settings for that station, but I don't want it offered as into the queue. Maybe it's a 15-minute station, maybe it's a catalog of some sort. So I'm going to use the, if I put disabled here, no one will be allowed to log into it at all. So I'm going to use the walk-up booking only setting, and that will enable people to still sign in and have their credentials validated through Pre-Book, but it won't offer that station to the queue. And there we have our modified station. If I want to take this one and just completely disable it for whatever reason, maybe somebody's walked off with the monitor or broken the keyboard and I'm waiting on a replacement part, we don't want anybody to use it, we can disable it, and then it will not be offered to anyone. Anybody that tries to log in will be blocked. That's all there is to that. Holiday hours, so you can set, it's quite self-explanatory, holidays coming up, President's Day, Christmas, you're closed outside of normal operating hours. You list a reason. I will set all my locations for it. Oops. I'm closed all day, or alternately my hours are different. Add that rule, and then this basically prevents anybody from being able to make reservations on that day and hopefully not show up unexpectedly at the library and wonder angrily why they can't claim their library reservation. Override barcodes. So if you want to create some barcodes that override all settings and will always allow a login either for staff or for whatever reason. If this is should be a barcode that you have in your ILS as well, but it doesn't have to be. Then you can enter it here, add it, and then that barcode will always be allowed to log into Userful Desktop. This is different from temporary barcodes in that temporary barcodes will expire after a certain period unless they're set to never, and they're intended to be handed out to patrons, whereas an override barcode is meant to be managed and used by staff. Administrative booking. So let's, I'm going to create an override barcode, and that'll make things a little bit easier to demonstrate. I'm going to go into administrative booking, and now I can use that barcode, override barcode, to block off my lab here. So if I want to have everybody kicked out early one day, say I close at 9, but I run everybody kicked off at 7 because I have a training class I want to repurpose the lab for, then I can select the relevant stations, I can select the date, time, remove, kick people out, any conflicting reservations off ahead of time, and then I can book that lab for that time. And that allows me to repurpose my lab for other users and ensures that we don't create any conflicting reservations. The rest of these settings are fairly simple. You can search the patron database for their last logins. You can view library staff accounts or add or remove or manage them. You can view login records for a day or longer of records. So again, you can see if somebody's punching in their barcode number correctly or not. You can view some basic usage statistics. I believe it keeps this for as long as it's set in web parameters, so currently 60 days. View your upcoming bookings and access help resources from Userful. That's all there is. Thank you for watching this video on Userful Pre-Book. Please check out the channel and description for other training videos that you might find interesting. If you have any questions or concerns, please email support@userful.com or contact your Userful sales or deployment specialist. Thanks very much. Have a good day. Goodbye.